Now, from Joel Hodgson, please.
Can the Met ever be trusted when it comes to dealing with ethnic minorities?
Can the Met ever be trusted when it comes to dealing with ethnic minorities? This is in the light of the Home Secretary's announcement today that there's going to have to be an inquiry into undercover policing after a review found what she called deeply troubling evidence that the police spied on the Stephen Lawrence family. And the question is, can the Met ever be trusted? Simon Hughes, you're a London MP. Do you think the Met can ever be trusted?
Well, the public in London need the Met to be trusted, but they haven't arrived. No, but they haven't arrived there. They should be trusted. And it's a tragedy that after the efforts made by the Labour government under Jack Straw to have the Macpherson inquiry, which we thought dealt with the Stephen Lawrence failed prosecutions, and lots of action by the Met to deal with those things, we now discover from today's report, independently commissioned by the government, very clear and robust decision of the Home Secretary, that they failed again. They failed to investigate corruption allegations. They failed to pass on those allegations to the Macpherson committee. And the third allegation was that there was clearly inappropriate undercover activity. Dwayne Brooks, who was the friend of Stephen Lawrence, who's a colleague and friend of mine and is now in public life because he is seeking to be the mayor of the borough that Rachel originally came from, in Lewisham, I spoke to today. He's a black man, a young black Londoner. And I take his advice because actually it's about young black minority and other Londoners. He said, look, we've got to get the message across the Met. You've got to move on. You have got to move on. It's no good looking back and trying to accuse people of things in the past. Yes, they need to be looked into. But the obligation on the Met and on the politicians in London is to make sure that every single citizen in Barking and Dagenham and everywhere else can have confidence in the police force. I'll tell you one thing that is needed. The police force needs to look like London. It needs to have the mix of ethnic backgrounds. Sorry?
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So demolishing. Joel Hodgson asked the question. What's your opinion?
I don't think that they can be trusted. I think that it's just one mistake after another. It's every week you're opening a newspaper and it's always something else that's gone wrong. I mean, is it going to be in 25 years' time we're going to find out that Mark Duggan wasn't lawfully shot?
What do you think, Rachel Reeves? I'll come to you, Senator.
Well, I totally understand what Joel is saying, and it shouldn't take 21 years for a mother to get justice and find out what happened to her son back in Eltham 21 years ago. But I would also say that the vast majority of police officers, like all of us, will be disgusted and distressed by what they've learnt today as well, because the majority of police officers, I think, in London but also in Leeds, where I'm an MP, I think do a fantastic job of protecting us, investigating crimes, rooting out homophobia and racism, and bringing people to justice for those crimes.
But how do you know when you're dealing? How do you know when you're dealing with the police, whether you're dealing with one of the people you describe, or whether you're dealing with somebody who, like the Home Secretary says, is damaged? Policing stands damaged today. How can you tell what you're dealing with?
Well, look, I just think the vast majority are doing a good job, and we need to ensure that the reforms that were recommended originally by Macpherson and then now with this new inquiry are taken forward, and that means reforming the Independent Police Complaints Commission, because this investigated in 2006 and didn't find out any of this, so that clearly needs further reform.
Okay.
And we also need to have greater scrutiny of undercover police officers, because that shouldn't have been allowed to happen the way it did with that infiltration of the family. So reform is needed. But I think that we should trust the police. I think we can trust the police. And I think the police, like us, will be disgusted by what they've learnt today.
You, sir.
I think it's unfortunate that the police cannot be trusted. They have made efforts, I think, to improve the service. But until we get rid of institutional racism, and unless we understand what institutional racism is all about, there will never be that trust. And I think that institutional racism exists throughout society, not just police.
OK. And you, sir, the very back there. The spectacles, yes.
Yeah, it's in the news last night about Section 60, stop and search. And it's been in... the government's put it on the back burner, basically.
Yeah. They were going to reduce or cut out stop and search.
That's correct, yeah.
Is that true, David Aaronovitch? Do you think that the government's done that?
All the information I have is that there's a huge argument between the Home Secretary, Theresa May, and Number 10 about whether or not she wants to restrict stop and search, and Number 10 badly doesn't, because it sees it as quite an element in its ability to go out and say it's tough on crime. So that certainly, and we get, I mean, not only are our relationships now between the business department and the Home Office incredibly bad, but the relations between the Home Office and Number 10 are incredibly bad.
Okay, you sit up there on the left.
Well, my view is that although we need to kind of look at the police to solve their problems, we should stop kind of navel gazing, because when you compare the police in this country to other parts of the world, I don't think we can fault them. You see, they do a good job. As a black man, I've been subject to sort of stop and search. I used to live in Suffolk, and when I came to London, in a week, I was stopped 3 occasions by the police. And I could not believe it, that this could happen. But in the end, I have to put that aside and to kind of decide that, look, the police are like just you and I. Everybody makes mistakes. And when they make mistakes, it should be dealt with and move on. Otherwise,
you don't think there's a policy of stopping black people as opposed to white people?
Well, I think
searching them.
I think there is, but also white people. Well, it's lots of white people are also stopped, but nobody reports it. Okay. So I think we should stop navel gazing.
Can I just say one thing? To generalise is fine. The police, Rachel's right, have made huge progress. But if you're the person stopped on the street unjustifiably again and again and again, that is unacceptable. And we have to deal with the stop and search problem, because some communities get a really bad deal.
Alexander, what do you think? You've lived here many years?
Yes, yes.
What do you think of the policing here?
Well, I think the police here is great compared to some countries. Well, we've seen, the Ukrainian police, and I know about the Russian police as well. And to be honest with you, I think they're trying very hard to be inclusive. And maybe if they don't have the numbers, of black policemen or Asian policemen, but they're moving there. They're not saying, no, we're going to change. So I have faith in the British police.
Okay. The woman there in the middle.
Like I said, we need to see change. We need to see what we want to believe in as a nation, as a country. We need to see, when you grow up, when the media portrays things, when our teachers, the policemen, the politicians, we need to see ethnic minorities. We need to see difference. If we just see, I'm sorry to say, just conservative white people up there, we're not going to have belief in anything. I'm not saying it about white people, I'm saying conservative and people who've come out of private schools. There's no one there with a bit of colour, not talking about skin colour, I'm talking about colour to the plate, bringing something passionate, bringing something that we can look up to, rather than dryness.
And you, sir, in the fourth row from the back, yes. You, sir.
I personally, I wouldn't. I've been in London. I've literally, I've grown up in London, but I don't trust the police. Recently, when we was in the tuition fees strikes, we was rounded up with my friends who were white, and we was taken to Euston Station. For about 3 hours was there, and then we were let go. And then they just told us to sign here, and then we were left go. And my white friends didn't leave with nothing, not even a warning, but I left with a caution of doing nothing. Literally, I'm trying to run a CRB for a job, and then it comes up on enhanced CRB. I realized that I do have a caution, which I don't know about. No one told me at the Euston Station that we're giving you a caution. So literally, this is gonna live with me for the next 5 years. Yet it's a mistake of the police. So how do you expect me to trust the police when they can do that to me and they can't do it to my white friends whom I went with uni?
Amanda Patel.
When Joel first asked that question, the first thing I was struck by is that you are a beautiful young black man, as Stephen Lawrence was before he was stabbed to death in the street. And he was not just let down by the Met. It wasn't just the police who lied. Not all of them. I can see that most of them are great, but there was an element that lied, that covered up, that covered each other's backs. They were not just let down by the police, they were also let down by the politicians. And it was my newspaper, the Daily Mail, who ran a non-stop campaign against all fashion, against all popularity, against the reader. You know, it wasn't like putting Madeleine McCann on the front page of the paper. This was not a groundswell campaign. But my editor, Paul Dacre, felt so passionately that this was so wrong that he campaigned for 2
Right,
decades.
that's the plug. That's the plug for the Daily Mail. Let's have the answer to the question.
It is actually really important.
Yeah, I think that's well known.
What we have now...
It's been said often. What about the question that Joel asked?
Now? Is it question time?
No, it's question time where you answer the question that Joel asked.
And?
Which is...
And I
much as we know, the Mail is a much-loved paper and all of that, can the Met ever be trusted when it comes to dealing with ethnic minorities? That was the question.
And I think that I answered that, but the question now is...
Right, we go on to somebody else.
No, can I just finish? The simple point is that that we talk about the fact that everything has changed and things have got better, but actually the whole case with Andrew Mitchell and Plebgate shows that the police still, there's an element of corruption and they cover each other's backs, and that is very, very worrying.
Michael Heseltine.
Well, the particular story that we're addressing is a scandal, and I think the government has reacted speedily and correctly in responding to what has shocked huge numbers of people. To pick on individuals for any reason, whether they be of a different race or different class or different infirmity, is intolerable, and the law is clear. Now, your specific question is, can people trust the Met in the circumstances? I think the truth is, for the most people, yes. But for very large numbers of a minority, no.
To be trusted by everyone, not for...
Yeah, but life isn't like
everyone, not
that.
just for
You never
get
100% opinion on one issue. So I think what I'm trying to say is that there is a balance in the answer. Many people will feel, I think, as you do, you never can trust them. But a lot of people will say, yes, they're doing their duty. So it's a mixed answer. Now, from your point of view, and I'm very sympathetic to the point of your question, I think it was either Rachel or Simon said that the police don't look like London. The electorate of London is now 50% ethnic. But virtually nothing in London, except the electorate, looks 50% ethnic. And so the issue is about absorbing a vast number of new people who've come to this country over the last 50 years and seeing them represented at every level of society. And one of the particular problems in the case of the police is it's very difficult to recruit people from some of the ethnic groups.
Due to lack of trust.
Exactly. But OK, let's accept that point. Let's assume there is a lack of trust. Now, how does the Met overcome? No, how does the Met overcome that if they try to recruit people in order to build the trust, but the recruits don't come?
Well, the recruitment system's obviously not fair then, is it? You're honestly telling me that these people aren't applying for these jobs?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, but
I find that very hard to believe. I feel that the people
you may find it hard to believe.
Can I just say somebody who was attacked in Barking just 2 weeks ago as a consequence of sheer and utter incompetence by the police here? I ran and chased my attacker to the police station myself. That police station was closed on a Sunday afternoon and no one was there to rescue me. But a 30-year-old Muslim girl who came to my rescue to defend me.
You may find it hard to believe, but it is difficult to attract certain groups of ethnic people.
But my point is that the people that you've got in power at the moment aren't doing the job correctly. The people, like I say, they're the conservative white people, they're not doing the job properly. So...
OK, you sat at the back there in the checked shirt.
Thank you. I think we have to put it in context. We're talking about corruption in the police service. The Metropolitan Police has 35,000 police officers. We're talking about a handful of incidents here over a number of years.
OK.